To our very important segment, that is the discussion. But before that, Kareria Shadrack says, I'm present waiting for the conversation. I'm sure, Kareria, right about now, you should be sitting back, relaxing, because we're just going to start that in a bit. Lakia Keys Lom, watching from Turkana. Nice work, Eugene. And he comes up to say people from Turkana are still looking for security. Mariam Gashui says it's sad that some Turkana residents are displaced within their own homes. Crisis communication is lacking. Lakia Keys would love also to hear more on the ground from where you are, because you say you're watching us live from Turkana. What should be done? What sort of questions do you have, even for Reuben Kigame, who wants to run for the top office as far as security matters are concerned? Would love to hear your thoughts on that. And of course, my guest right about now says he's taking a stab on the top seat in the country, and he's not looking back. That those who have already denounced the other candidates, and they've said that it's only a two-horse race, but Reuben Kigame says that I'm here to the end, and he insists that he has what it takes to be able to change Kenya for the better. He is affiliated to the Kongamano la Mapinduzi movement, and of course would love to hear from Reuben as far as the issues concerned with this particular country are concerned. He has stated a six-pointer as far as his agenda is concerned for the country. We can definitely see it over here, and of course also on the screen right there. He is ready to deal with corruption and impunity. He's ready to tackle hunger, health challenges, debt crisis, negative ethnicity, discrimination of marginalized persons, lack of education, and unemployment among the young people. Reuben, thank you so much for joining us right here. It is not your first time on this particular set. This is sort of a follow-up, a recap after the last session we had right here with you. A lot has happened. Yes. And I want to kick off, first of all, with what is or should be a concern for the candidates running for office, whichever position come August 9th. And this is in concern or in relation to those that would make them take office or not take office, and these are the voters. The IEBC has missed its target with a big, or by a big margin, as the voter listing came to a close just the other day. As of as of Saturday evening, they had only netted a paltry 906,211 new voters. Mm-hmm. This definitely implies that it will definitely be a daunting task for the commission to hit even 1.5 million out of 4.5 new voters targeted in the second phase of the enhanced voter registration exercise. As a presidential candidate, as a person vying for office who really needs these people to vote, what do you take, or what do you make of these numbers?
So first of all, Eugene, the majority of the people that believe in what I'm doing have actually refused to register. Mm-hmm. The majority of those who are disenfranchised, that have gotten a raw deal out of government, do not even hear the heed by IEBC. Mm-hmm. And we have a long narrative about IEBC to bring to the core, mm-hmm. because they have failed to do civic education, certainly in a generation that sees a lot of young people using digital media and the social media spaces. It would have been commendable for IEBC to reach out to the young people that are on Facebook and Instagram and so on, e-citizen and all of those digital spaces. Yeah. It's amazing that in the 21st century, we are still expecting young people to leave their college or homes and come and queue somewhere, when each of them has access to a phone. So it means that even the government, even the IEBC, does not understand the majority, the youth. And so I come into this by saying, if there is anything that the country should look up to with regard to Reuben Kigame as the 5th president, mm-hmm. the key thing that is going to be very, very different is that I stand on the platform of restoring values, mm-hmm. In this country. Yeah. We want a restoration of values, and values are very simple. You have highlighted all those different things, the 6 or 7 point agenda. Actually, my team is at 10. Yeah. Yeah. But all of these can be summed up in just a couple of things. First of all, we want to restore the respect for the citizen. utu. We want the citizen to be so respected, na serikali iache madharau kwa mwananchi. The second thing is we want the rule of law.
Maybe you can pose from there.
Sure, and I'll just say the third thing, so you can always interrogate.
Yes.
And the third thing is we want to build the citizen. We want kujenga mwananchi.
Yeah.
And that is in education and in food and health services.
Yeah.
So all these things focus on people coming first. We want mwananchi to come first. And we want to abolish and completely send home a government that does not respect its people and treats them as if they don't exist, treats them as if they are dispensable. The Reuben Kigame government wants to give Kenya back to its people and to put people before profits, people before any kind of discussion. People come first.
People come first.
Yes.
Reuben Kigame, people will come first, and for you to even take office, you will need these people as far as numbers are concerned.
Yes.
How do you take this current government home, or those who you feel have been part and parcel of where the country is, in your opinion, as far as you know, the welfare of the country and the citizens are concerned? How do you take them or make them parking without those numbers?
So there are two Kenyas today. There is the Kenya of the media where you and I are engaging now.
Yeah.
And there is a real Kenya out there of those people who will not even tune in to look up TV tonight.
Right.
They're fed up, they're tired, they're angry. And that's why no matter how much you tell them to register, they know that all you're going to do is play games with their votes. These are my people. These are the people I understand because I feel just as angry. And the reason I want to send, you know, this particular government home and putting a new government that is people-centered is because you can only play games with people this much. You cannot really take Kenyans for a ride, you know, with the kind of things that, you know, the government is doing. Are you aware that this current government is killing its own people and dumping them in River Yala? And then you threaten the person who, you know, goes to bring bodies out of that river. Are you aware? Are you aware that nobody in government is talking about that? Are you aware that even the police department, the security agents in Yala itself, even Matiang'i and his team, Mtiambai and his team, the president, they're not talking about our own people being killed and dumped in River Yala. You are not talking about all these students with HELB loans that you can pay within 4 days of, you know, of stopping the hemorrhage. We're losing 2 billion per day.
Right.
And, you know, the students, you know, the total amount of HELB from independence now is under 9 billion. So you can actually abolish, you can take care of that HELB by just, you know, 4 days of stopping the hemorrhage. And you can go that, Madharau, the Madharau goes all the way to the police, it goes to the doctors, it goes to the teachers, Madharau, Madharau, Madharau. And if I can just do one thing for this country, it would be to stop a culture of Madharau and restore human dignity. The Kenyan person works so hard, works all night sometimes. Wake up as early as 4 a.m. to work, to go to work. And then at the end of the day, hana kakitu.
Hana kakitu.
So the point is, any government that punishes its citizens like that, whether it's police, doctors, or teachers, or parents, that kind of government needs to pack and go.
Yeah.
And that is what we want to do. So there are enough people who are tired of all this name calling and, you know, the fights between the so-called two horses, you call each other names. We want a conversation that takes the citizen and puts him at the front burner.
Right.
Yes.
Now, Reuben, fair enough, but at the end of the day, you have said those are your people. These people who are feeling tired of whatever is going on, they feel the leadership has failed them, and they feel even the whole process of voting seems to not produce the hope that they need. And you said these are your people. I want you to confirm that.
These are my people, but even among the registered voters, you have millions and millions of people who will judge me right when I say that they deserve a better country, that they deserve better treatment. Mambo ya madharau tuache. And I can tell you for sure, the people you see, the crowds you see in terms of the rallies and so on, most of those people are not voters. The crowds you see out there heckling, some of them are transported, by the way, in order to attend those rallies. The real votes are not in the rallies. You know, everybody thinks because you see two people on the front page of a newspaper, or they're always the first two items in the news, you think that some of us are not talking to the people. The ground has shifted, Eugene. We are meeting people one-on-one, group to group, family to family. I can tell you for sure, Kenya is listening to a different story. And Kenya is receiving a different... You cannot joke with people forever. People are intelligent and wise enough to know when you're playing games with them. You can make all these promises. You can actually tell them you will build them expressways, and you will, you know, give them 6,000, and you will, you know, remove them from the bottom and take them up. Let me tell you, unless you are dealing with the dignity of the person, he's only my story.
He's only my story.
My story, tupu. And nobody can eat lies.
Yeah, nobody can eat lies. Now, talk to me a bit about how you prove to a Kenyan watching you tonight who feels that Reuben Kigame is lying. He's not on the ground. We are not seeing him because at the end of the day, they argue, and there's an argument that politics is also about perception. And and you've seen even the current, you know, your fellow competitors, what they're doing is they're trying to show us through the numbers to be able to tell us this equates to actually the popularity that I have. And we've not seen Reuben Kigame on the ground. Bona Reuben anatudanganya. So tell us a bit about that. Where have you been campaigning? How are you campaigning as far as this is concerned?
You know, the way Kenya goes, they muzzle you, okay? They keep you from the limelight in terms of media coverage and all of that. Then they tell you, where are you? We don't see you. Because they'll never, from the time I stepped out to run for president last April, and even declared on Saba Saba Day, you know, as is usual, they'll push you down because they are the media owners. You know, some media companies, by the way, have already declared who they support. I used to think as a media person myself that media should be a little bit more objective. And so when we get interviews like this on Look Up, we get very grateful. But if you go to Vihiga County, for example, and you talk to the people in Bunyore, talk to people in Hamisi, talk to people in Maragoli land, in Vihiga proper, and so on, you will find most of them know that I launched, I stepped out, we had a big prayer rally that was attended very, very well. I've been to Kisumu and the justice centers, and I've been to advocate for, you know, issues to do with the removal of the Kibos factory, and stood in solidarity with the people there. I've been in Soi, I have been in Kapenguria, in the area there to meet with church people as well as the residents there in events. I have been around Uasin Gishu meeting different people. I've been in Meru, by the way, and met different people there. And of course, here in Nairobi, when we had issues with the Mukuru Kwanjenga evictions, I was there in person, helping where I could, and talking to the people, giving them encouragement, singing my songs with them. So on the ground, in terms of capacity, I may not have the billions, the stolen billions, you know, to buy off people and bribe them and so on, because I don't believe in that. And I may not have all the cars. I may not have aircraft. I may not, you know, all these helicopters. That are bought with stolen money. I may not have, you know, the ability to be able to put up all these massive rallies, which should actually not be put up because of the COVID restrictions. You know, so at the end of the day, I can tell you, slow but sure, and you know, one-on-one, whether it's just disability groups, women groups, youth groups, students, and you know, professionals. The Kigame presidency is gaining traction, And you can be sure come August, we'll be telling a different story.
Right.
And by the way, the official time for campaigning has not even started. If we were to go by law, a lot of people would be disqualified.
So in this particular case, we'll be able to talk a bit about the selective application of election laws. But just before we move away from that particular point of the ground, because Reuben, majority of people would argue that the remaining time to the August 9 poll is such a short time for you to change perceptions of Kenyans, to be able to see the new shifting of ground that you mentioned earlier on, because the current way of how people look at things, it is not me, it is actually how the Kenyan nature of the politics has been crafted. It's about the financial muscle, it's about the resources, it's about how far you can go, how many crowds you can pull. Are you confident, Reuben, that you will be able to change this mindset shift within the next 6 months to be able to turn around the tides and become the president of Kenya, Kigame the Fifth?
So there are a couple of things. All those things that you have said are assumptions.
Yeah.
Those are they are also perceptions. And perceptions are just that, what people perceive. But what is the reality? What is the reality? What is the story? What is the narrative that people really resonate with?
Tell me about it.
Utu. Yeah, the dignity. You can say everything, you can craft any narrative. The bottom line is we have dishonored the Kenyan person. And we cannot go on like that. We have to restore that dignity. Now, is there anybody else that is affected by this violation of the rights of the Kenyan person? I'm sure they're there. But who among the presidential candidates is carrying that narrative? None of them. And so, I die or stand on the fact that people come first, before profits, before anything. And if they are going to get anything from a Reuben Kigame presidency, it's going to be that I defend the rights of the people before profits, even if it's development.
Right.
I believe that all these SGRs and expressways, some people will never use them. But, if you were to touch the life of a child today, if you were to touch the life of a parent today, by taking away some of the pressure from them, you will be able to empower the citizen. And it is so simple. It's just that a few families and a few individuals have decided that Kenya belongs to them, yet the Constitution says that sovereign power actually belongs to the people of Kenya. And so I have a question for you too. The question is this. This is 10 months into my standing out to say I'll be running for office.
Right.
If I did not believe in what I'm doing, by now I would have given up. And I hope that by my being here tonight, it's a sure testimony of the fact that I am not a project, I am not somebody's idea, I am here on behalf of the Kenyan people. And another thing is, running for office, whether it's MCA, governor, women rep, whatever, MP, it's not child play, it's not a walk in the park. And running for president in particular is a risky thing. It's difficult, it's expensive. So to go with it at courage this far and to make it to the ballot, the best thing Kenyans can do for me is vote for me. Because all these years, you've always recycled people. You've always had people that came in because they could pay you 50 shillings or 500 shillings. You have people who come with all these lies. I think it's the first time we're going to have a serious people-centered narrative, and that is what I carry.
Right.
Because the rule of law must be respected. The dignity of the person must be respected. Basic rights to food, to health, to education. Every young person has a right to that education, and it can be done. I am sure I can deliver free education, and that would spare parents from having to sell shambas. It would spare parents from having to sell cars and cows. It would spare, us from rehabilitating young people that we throw out at class 8 and at Form 4. As an educationist myself, as a teacher myself, I know what is wrong with CBC. I would like to be able to fix it. with my team.
Would you kick it out? The NC party leader and of course the Kenya Kwanza Brigade say if it is a problem to parents, this thing, we're kicking it out the moment we get into office.
It's not about kicking out or not kicking out something. It's looking at a system and asking, how do we get quality education that works for the 21st century for our children, for our youth? So it's not about kick or not kick. It's about giving education to specialists, education specialists. You cannot, for example, entrust education to a medical doctor and then expect different results.
But Reuben, with all due respect,
so the big thing is this. You call a stakeholder meeting of specialists.
By now you haven't done that within your campaign team, to be able to have something to say to Kenyans that this is my manifesto as far as the issues of education and the
if you want my
CBC,
manifesto,
I'll be able to do it.
If you want my manifesto, you can get it. We are talking about the principles that make a Reuben Kigame presidency different. And one of those is that I want to provide free education. That I can do.
Right.
And that's my plea. In fact, I'm hoping that I can be the first president to actually free all these university students from the HELB loans.
How do you fund that?
It's simple. We're losing 2 billion per day. 4 days of we're funding Kenya Airways, a company that has been mismanaged with billions, losing it further, instead of using just 7 or 8 billion to write off HELB. What is more expensive?
So you would not save the national carrier and you'd divert the particular monies into the education? Is this what
we
you're
need to
saying?
talk about the transport system, because the national carrier has perennial problems that are attached to mismanagement, and you can't solve Kenya Airways problems by throwing money at it. That is just total loss. In fact, you can't solve any problem by throwing money at it at all. What we need to do is go to the drawing board. My point is, instead of bailing out a mismanaged airline or a mismanaged institution, we should invest more profitably, more responsibly. And it's the same thing with issues of our struggling universities and so on. If you're talking education, the problem is not the professors, the problem is not the students, the problem is a rogue government that steals from institutions, and all the way to even savings of people, the pension monies.
Right.
So the issue is, if you had an economic policy to attach to me, it would be, first of all, just stop the hemorrhage. Stop the bleeding.
Yeah,
and in 4 days, you would take care of it.
What's the formula? Because you mentioned in your pointers, the key points, you want to deal with poor education, which actually results in unemployment in youth and lack of decent jobs for young people. What would be your formula? Because a lot of Kenyans share in what you say, but they want to know, how will you do it?
The how is, so let me show you something. First of all, if you took about 1 million Form 4 leavers, okay? Only about maybe 140,000 to 160,000, make it to university. My question to you is, where do you take the 800,000 youth that you condemn to, total helplessness and hopelessness because of your education system?
Where would President Reuben Kigame take
Class
them?
8.
Where would you take
So
them?
the first thing you do, Eugene, is ensure that every child can get public education free from primary to secondary to university. And that can be done within 1 year. In fact, if we paid our taxes for 14 to 15 days, you can pay for the entire education for all of them. Now, it's the how. I want you to see the how you will be solving a problem. First of all, if you take every young person to age 21 to school for free, you are rescuing them from being dropouts. You are rescuing them from being street children. You are rescuing them from drug addiction. You are rescuing them from alcoholism. You are rescuing their parents from losing property by having to sell shambas. In other words, the money they would have paid for fees, they can invest, and so on. And you can stretch that to the point where you know, all these fulizas, all these credit facilities to pay help and so on. If you wiped it out, and you can wipe it out, I can wipe it out in the first week of my
first week of your presidency.
I can scrap
stop the bleeding.
I would not
the
stop
hemorrhaging.
First of all, it's if I invested 7 to 9 billion, all of the help, you know, people who have defaulted will actually go free. What would that do? It would free them to be able to move on with their lives, invest, and, you know, not have to think about help as an impediment.
Reuben,
and sometimes
they will argue and say it's easier said than done. This is just easier said than done.
My brother, we lost how many billions in Kimwarer and Aror?
I mean, but still.
So
how do you bring it back? I mean, that's the question, because losing is happening.
We're talking
the question is recovery of this.
We're talking education.
Yes.
If you want to talk recovery of assets, we can talk.
Yes.
So you want us to talk recovery
I mean, it's still
of assets?
part of what you're saying. You want to recover the lost assets to use it in actually financing the key programs like education.
So let me put it this way.
Yeah.
If we humanized the billions, you would be able to see how it's the misappropriation of those funds that increases our problems. So that, for example, like I said, instead of bailing out Kenya Airways, you already have money that you are ready to allocate. So why would you allocate a mismanaged you know, entity more funds? For what? Because, you know, and it's not the first time they're allocating to KQ. If history proves us well, it means that it is bound to be misappropriated as well. In other words, unless you invest in people, you are bound to always go wrong. For example, most of the investment are, you know, mirages. You have prospective investments that target, you know, Kenya becoming maybe a middle economy, middle income economy. So, but that is prospective because you're pushing investment to 5 or maybe 10 years. And yet there are immediate problems, like 2.8 million Kenyans starving without food. You have universities closing. So instead of funding, you know, the repair of that kind of damage, people-centered development, you go and fund entities that you know, like Kenya Power. You bail out Kenya Power, and you already know Kenya Power has a problem. It is our priority that is wrong. Instead of all these projects, you know, and planning for future, we begin where our problems are now.
We begin where our problems are.
If I am hungry, what is an expressway for? If that expressway is also going to demolish my home in Mukuru, Kwanjenga, what is the point? You see, so we have to humanize the way we do development. If we are only developing Nairobi and a child in Mandera or Turkana, you know, has no access to the basics, even if we talk to devolution, we can talk devolutions until the cows come home. We are not developing the country. Development has to be across the board.
So you would go to the drawing board and start with the priorities first.
And the priority is simply this. Install a government of values. You know, people wa maadili, sio wezi. Install, you know, in leadership, your CSs and all those, you know, a national picture of a government. Our national anthem gets it right. Na tujenge taifa letu. Taifa sio milima na ma expressway. Taifa ni watu. Na, you know, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi. We're living without rights. Some people are above the law. They abuse the law. Now, the most important is Kenya istahili heshima. Na Kenya, once again, sio misitu, na hizo ni important, yes, but heshima ni watu. Nataka kuwa rais anayeheshimu watu. Yani tuondoe madharau kwa mwananchi. Tuondoe kabisa. Tumpe mwananchi hadhi yake, so that as a president, the first thing I think about is mama so and so, is baba so and so, is mtoto so and so able to eat. You know, are there facilities for them to go to a hospital and get treatment?
Yeah.
You see, you can talk all you want about NMS and so on, putting up hospitals in Nairobi,
yeah,
or county governments investing in hospitals. But if those are just buildings,
yeah,
stones,
yeah,
without doctors, without medicines, and then you dump all the cases, especially the emergency cases, on Kenyatta Hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say you have developed the health sector and you've provided health services when it is just buildings.
Right.
It's services.
It's services. Reuben, I want us to take a very short break, but of course I want you to respond to this gentleman who actually asked the first question even before we even started this conversation. He says, Kigame is intelligent. I believe he has the steps it takes to be a leader, not involved in corrupt activities, no cases with the law. Kigame is the preso. But ask Reuben, what difference is he bringing to us? Of course, you touched a bit about all of that. So you bring
values, maadili. Hatutaki viongozi wa tabia mbaya. Hatutaki wezi. Hatutaki watu wa matusi. Hata kwa kampeni ni matusi na calling each other names. We want dignity. We want the rule of law. We want, you know, the human person with rights. Basic food, education, health. Once we deal with these things, Wakenya watajisort. They are hardworking. Just give Kenyans what they need. Heshima na opportunities.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, people will say, Kigame, we've never seen you do this. You've never been a minister. You've never been this. Do you know how much I'm denied those opportunities as a person? First of all, even President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto, Honorable Raila, if they were asked about inclusive politics, if they were asked about the rights of every Kenyan, you know, by mouth they will say Kigame has a right to stand. But they will put obstacles. You know that Uhuru Kenyatta cannot come today and say he wants Kigame as the preferred presidential successor. Why? Because I'm blind.
I mean, is this factual that he said that he can't put you as a successor because you're blind? Or
but he's endorsed, he has endorsed Raila.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know you.
You would think. So, the point is this, that I want to be a positive example, as someone who made it to presidency, to encourage that young person in the village that he is as much a citizen as Uhuru Kenyatta, as Deputy President, as Raila.
Right.
Or any of us, even you,
Yeah.
have the right to be in government. It's not a preserve of a few families. Nataka, especially those graduates leaving college, to know they can be MCAs, they can be MPs, they can be governors, because Kenya is for all.
Yeah.
I would want to deconstruct presidency. Presidency can also be for a blind person, as long as he has a vision, as long as he has what it takes, the education and the ability to lead.
Yeah.
Now, and I want it to be known that presidency can be from any community.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that people don't even know, for the most part, what community I come from. Some even think I'm from Rwanda because of the name Kigame.
Kigame.
But the point is, we need to demystify leadership and take it away from politicking. We want leadership. We want services, servant leadership that puts people first. And that's why I come to the table with values, with utu, with heshima, with hadhi ya mwananchi, with maslahi ya mwananchi wa kawaida.
Right.
If you can give me a chance to do that, then you can sort yourselves after that.
You can sort yourself after that.
Because all I need to do is undo the system that has led to our madharau.
Right, and of course this is what the tweets are saying. I have a tweet here who says, is Daka the Berry, this is what he says. And he says, Reuben Kigame presidency will be possible if voters know that what they want. Sadly, Kenya vote for popularity, not agendas. And this is what I've been trying to ask you from the time we started the show. You seem to be hitting the right notes, talking the right things that Kenyans want to hear. But do you think that it is time that Kenyans are ready to actually shift the politics of this country.
So the question is, you've done your part as Eugene to invite me on the show.
Right.
The same people who are asking these questions, I'll ask them a question.
Yeah.
Are you able to organize a meeting and call me to talk to you? If you really believe I carry, what you want for presidency.
Yeah.
Or must every president come to you and bribe you in order to get into office?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to rewrite this narrative that we don't have to bribe any citizen. You have dignity. We don't have to buy you. In fact, you're the boss. Wewe ndio una uwezo.
Yeah.
And you as a citizen, today, in fact, if you decided that we are tired of status quo, we'll put Kigame in office. It will happen.
Yeah.
It happens in other countries. Why can't it happen here?
Yeah.
And I usually tell people there are only two ways of revolution. One is a bullet, the other is a ballot.
Yeah.
And we have a unique opportunity to just use the ballot and get things done.
Yeah.
So the question is, have we grown enough to be tired of being bought? Have we grown tired to say, badala ya kununuliwa na hiyo 50, hata afadhali basi nipatie Kigame, hiyo 50, akuje nayo Mombasa kuniongelesha. You know what I mean? So that, you can get so tired that you say, whatever it will take, I'm going to camp at that, I'll walk or I'll do something in order to see this change. The issue is not me. I have already offered myself.
Yeah.
I'm going all the way to the ballot. The issue is you. Are you ready to walk with me towards that real change? That's the challenge I'm putting to each of you.
It's a big challenge.
If you're tired enough, then step out of your cocoon, join the Kigame Brigade, and let us do something historical. Every time maybe you lack somebody who is this daring.
Yeah.
I know I may look like a David and a Goliath, because yes, you can write me off very easily, but I have what it takes for a vision. In fact, sometimes I think I see a bit more than my competitors, because I see our children and our children's children. They only see the moment. They only want, whatever it will take to get into office. But are we able to see posterity? Are we worried enough about yule mama ambaye hata kuacha mtoto hawezi kuacha kwa sababu lazima aende na mtoto kazini?
Yeah, but Reuben, this is what this tweet has been asking. The Kenyan politics, or the current state of affairs, is one that is driven by political euphoria. I mean, since the days of the NAC, the Kibaki Tosha period, this is what's happening
The strange thing is that they know that.
Yeah. But
if you know that, I am not the problem. You are the problem. If you know that you are a victim of euphoria, when you hear something like a people-centered government, you should troop towards it.
Yeah.
And so the issue would be if there was nobody whatsoever to champion the return to Utu, the return to people-centered rights, the return to the basics. Ukipatia mwananchi basics, atajisort, and Kenyans are hardworking.
Yeah.
That is, and so if you know that there is euphoria, run away from euphoria, join our train.
Yeah.
If you know that, for example, you've been exploited, run away from exploitation. If you see the lies, if you see people fighting, and we come to you with a message of hope and renewal and restoration, join us.
Yeah, but then Reuben, your competitors have the euphoria on their side. Number two, they also are trying to send the same message that you're talking about Utu. I mean, Raila Odinga's Azimio la Umoja has the use, and one of them is Utu.
Can you tell me what he has said about that?
No, just a minute. William Ruto, the deputy president, says that he wants to dignify the people at the lower part of the pyramid, the mamambogas and the rest.
True.
And he carries this through his bottom-up approach. So they already have an upper hand from him.
Wait. Upper hand or lower hand is not the issue. So the issue is this. Yeah. What's the difference between them and Reuben Kigame? The difference is this. They've been in government before. I've not. So whatever they tell you they would like to do if you give them the vote this time, the first question is, why haven't they done that for you before?
You and I have heard, better the devil I know than the angel I don't know. Probably people will go and say, at least we've tried them, at least we know who's the better.
But you also know that even, the Lucifer was the brightest of the angels before he fell.
Right.
So the issue is not angel or not angel. The issue is reality. The issue is, where it bites. So the question is, can we rise from our slumber to the point where we ask, okay, ukiniambia you are going to do this for me,
yeah,
and you've been there for 9 or 10, or some of them have been there for nearly 30 years,
yeah,
and they've not delivered.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be a little bit naive to keep giving the same people a chance?
Yeah.
Why not try something new? Why not? And that's the reason I'm asking. If all there is euphoria, if all there is you know, the big monies and the big rallies and so on, and they're telling you stuff they've told you for 30 or 40 years, the question is, who is real? Who is authentic? Who is able to talk to you from where you are? You know, the way I campaign is, I meet with people, I sit down with them. There are people I sit down with and say, I've never been close to a presidential candidate. Sometimes I'll take public transports. There are times I will, you know, visit a home and so on. And people are shocked that, you know, I've not been in government before. So there is a good opportunity for us to change the narrative. And the narrative is simply this. Choose between somebody who gives you all these promises and somebody who restores your dignity.
All right.
Somebody who works on your utu, your haki, and your basic rights.
We need
food, health,
yes,
and education.
And education. We wanted to take this particular break, and I have Jeff the Kef who says, watching Reuben Kigame on the bottom K on Lookup TV, the guy is smart. Matters education 100%. Why recycle the same guys and expect different results? Most Kenyans are gullible, by the way. They fail to realize what human development is. I think this is in total agreement with what you're saying. I have Shami Kayumba who says she's watching from Lavington. And of course, you know, Bwana Kigame, before we take this particular break, there's this very important question that I wanted to ask you. You know, according to a 2021 Transparency International report, we all know that Rwanda comes usually top at number 52 in the region as one of the least corrupt countries, followed by Tanzania 87, Kenya at 128, and Uganda at 144. Of course, jobs, terrorism, national debt are actually topping the business risks for those who are actually in business. When we come back, I would like you to talk to the business community.
Okay.
What is it that you're going to do for them if you actually take this presidency? And of course, we're going to take this particular short break. If you have any questions for how a Reuben Kigame presidency would look like, should look like, if you were to actually vote for him come August 9th, what are the things that you want him to focus on? What are the things that you think he needs to be talking to be able to actually win that particular vote that you have? Are you the problem? He believes that if you have felt that there's just euphoria, and yet he's presented himself as an alternative that is actually trying to bring back dignity to the Kenyans and the country at large, then you could be the problem. You have a chance to vote for him. And if you do not see that as an opportunity, then you could be the problem. Do you agree with that? The bottom line KE is the hashtag. We are live across our digital platforms, Facebook Live. You can be able to leave your comment right there. Follow this conversation and give us your feedback on every statement that is being made right here, right now. I'll be back.
The future of money is simple, like unlocking possibilities with a smile and having the world in the palm of your hand. It's the ability to touch many lives at the same time and turn your dreams into reality. It's forgetting and still remembering. Simple is having everything that you love in one place. From the ticket to your next meal, to your ticket to the next holiday. It's an easy way to ask for a boost when you're low. And keeping track of everything on the go. The future of money is simple, and it's here. Download the new M-Pesa app today.
Want to grow your business? Broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries? Then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542
700 893 542
or email us on sales@luke-up.tv.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Maru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly 1-year installments plan.
Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Look Up TV movement now.
All right. Thank you so much for making time and still staying with us right here on the Bottom Line KE. I'm hanging out with presidential candidate or aspirant Reuben Kigame. He's affiliated with the Kongamano la Mapinduzi. He's vying for the top seat in the country. He says he's got what it takes. And the question is, do you believe him? Will you vote for him come August 9th? Did you even register to vote? Or are you just spectating right now, and come August 9th, you just have nothing to do, whether you feel like you believe what he says or does not believe what he says? Now, remember, you can be part of the conversation. All you need to do, if you're following us on Twitter, the hashtag is TheBottomLineKE, and on Facebook Live, we are also streaming right there. You can feel free to leave a comment, your question to Reuben Kigame. It's very rare that we get such people, so take advantage, ask him the questions. Probably right now you might get an answer, and it could be very difficult. I don't know, he'll tell us when he becomes president. Kama atapatikana.
Nico.
Let's read a question or a feedback from Alex Mayere, who says, ask Mr. Kigame, Reuben, his plan with Kenya's debt crisis. And this is where I was heading right about now. The CEOs in Kenya who were interviewed by the World Economic Forum cited jobs, debt crisis, which is currently past the 8 trillion Kenya shillings mark, environment damage, prolonged economic stagnation, and terrorist attacks as the top 5 risks facing Kenya in 2022. We are in an election year. What will you do?
So let's break this down, because it gets complicated when you pile so many things together. So first of all, for investors in this country, we all know that we've been victim of the pandemic, and it has taken away a lot of jobs. A lot of people have had to close their businesses and so on, hotels, pubs and so on, transporters, a lot of businesses have closed. My priority would be to find out how we can spur, a reopening of a lot of those closed businesses. Because it's only when we reopen and empower them, maybe even focus specific funding towards recovery, COVID recovery package, so that the recovery or reopening of these businesses can actually not only create the jobs that were there, maybe even open up more, depending on how much we can expand them. But at the same time, it will relieve us as a country of a lot of the mental stresses that we have, because a lot of people are frustrated. So we need to give back the jobs that were lost, and it may trickle, but bring up the salaries that were cut to a place where the average Kenyan is able to fend for their family. So if you can just restore the dignity of being able to work instead of staying at home, you would be making a major difference. So I would like to see a post-COVID recovery package, especially to closed businesses and those that are able to invest in production again and so forth. Now, the other thing
Maybe
is...
before we go to the other thing, Reuben, I mean, someone probably listening to you would probably feel like maybe you don't have that particular answer yet they expect that 6 months to the election, at least probably you've already worked out your way to be able to say, this is my plan for those in businesses, this is how we're going to bring back the jobs. Because at the end of the day, this sounds like a wish,
No. You see,
a formula for bringing back the jobs.
Tonight is a discussion on my policy, okay? What I stand for.
Yes.
If you want me to bring, the nitty-gritties, we can talk
An
about...
investor could be watching and probably they
We can talk about the economy per se.
Yes.
So allow me to give you my blueprint and we can go to specifics. So post-COVID recovery, and my team is working at the figures here to be able to determine how much we can pump in, instead of saying we'll give every family maybe this much. You see, if you empower the industries, you empower the reopening of the closed hotels and institutions, you'll be able to create jobs. The second thing I would like to highlight in terms of the investors and so on is licensing. We need to simplify licensing, and that's something as a president I can push and succeed on, because in terms of policy, the Kenyan is hampered by just having to pay so many licenses in order to either start a business or operate. A friend was telling me that to operate a supermarket, for example, you need to take care of like 23 to 25 different licenses. So I would be rushing to do a single licensing situation whereby you make it easier for people to open businesses. And then, of course...
But Reuben, how do you do that, and you're the legislative arm? I mean, you're the executive arm of government, and it is the parliament that actually should be able to help you to do that.
Well, parliament is the legislative arm. I'm the executive.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. How do you execute the things you're saying? You'll be moving to single licensing, yet all that has to be embedded within the law. And you, as the president, like we are assuming you've won office, you need parliamentarians who are affiliated or allied to you to be able to pull all these things out.
But that's a different discussion. You're going into the formation of government here.
Yeah,
I'm talking about policy. So
yes, but how do you come up with those policies?
That my technocrats look at, for example, it's not that these licenses will stop being paid. You don't stop paying licenses. You simplify the process, and instead of duplicating, the time lost, for example, in getting a the license to do a particular thing is so much time. And if you digitize it, digitizing doesn't take rocket science. It's really about just simplifying how you do business. And secondly, when you come to legislation, if you wanted to deal with it at legislation, bills can be introduced. And at the end of the day, I believe that the kind of people we are attracting in government this time, in fact, I'm almost certain that a lot of people that run for office before will go home. So we are having a lot of new minds and so right from my CSs and so on, we are appointing people that are Mwananchi centered. And we will be able to then push the legislation where we simplify licensing. We also simplify the taxation system. We need to zero rate certain things coming, especially for investment in our country. We need to bring about, a stop to wastage in terms of, there's so much that is wasted in terms of for example, the electricity, how can I put this? The cost of operating business, for example, in this country is too high. And because right from Kenya Power to the generation and so on, the energy is too expensive. There are things we may not be able to manage, like environmental factors, some of the things you cannot predict. You know, whether you'll have a drought this year, but we have specialists that can give us a general idea, so that the way you do your budgets is you prioritize in such a way that you are able to take care of any encumbrances. Now, when it comes to things like, you mentioned insecurity because of terrorism and so on. Terror is really a hypothetical, political game. Let me take the example of Somalia and Kenya. Why we are always at loggerheads with Somalia, I don't know. Yet it's our immediate neighbor. We have Somalis in Kenya, we have Somalis in Somalia. So the issue is, why is it we can bring South Sudan into the East African community and not Somalia? I would be one of the presidents who would be fighting towards, Somalia joining the East Africa community. And, so something like that maritime dispute,
right?
If you are part of a community, then what are you fighting for?
Right.
And on the other hand,
I feel like I would love to interject here, but
sure.
I still want you to build on your your statement.
The point is that if you have a principle in terms of investment, or like the private sector, investments, priorities in this country, you want to give people the ease of doing business.
Fine.
Once you give them the ease of doing business,
Kenyans
will sort themselves. And then one last thing I needed to mention is we really need to work hard at fighting cartels. And cartels, people look at middlemen, or those who negotiate in between service providers and consumers, and think they're evil people. No. You see, Kenyans are smart and they do well. The problem is that there's too much exploitation, so much so that you find the producers or the people that are supposed to benefit most, the creators, the producers, end up getting much less, and it is lost in that middlemanship.
Right.
So we need to dignify middlemanship and make it work for everybody. Let me just give you a personal example.
Real quick.
Because I'm a musician. So the music industry and the arts, film production and all those things are very close to my heart. So if you did a skiza, you registered a skiza tune as a musician or, an artist, the bulk of it will go to Safaricom, maybe 70%. Then you split the 30% between you and the CMOs and so on. The question is, why should the producer of content, why should the producer of, let's say, maize, why should the producer of coffee or tea be the biggest loser in the transaction? And yet, these others are benefiting from his or her sweat. So I'm not saying that they should not do business, but they should reallocate. We should renegotiate, how the profits
But all these things,
distributed.
Kigame, you don't need to wait until you're president to be able to align them, I believe. But the question I wanted to ask you is...
Are you sure about that?
I mean, that's why I'm asking, because there are certain things that probably we've been trying to see
Have you heard me fighting for the rights of musicians?
Right. What I'm trying to say is that there are certain things that you don't need to wait until you're president to be able to implement. But the key question I wanted to ask you here is, there was a time that even President Uhuru Kenyatta, at the time that they were at loggerheads with Raila Odinga, he kept saying even if Raila won today, he would have a very rough time in Parliament. In fact, we would even just wake up the next morning and impeach him because he doesn't have the numbers in Parliament. The question I'm trying to drive at here is, who are your friends, who are your people that would actually help you manage the country if you became a president? Because that is where now the viability of your presidency is
I see where you're coming from. So, so first of all, you have narrowed down my definition. We didn't talk about who Reuben Kigame is and where he is at. So you've been citing Kongamano la Mapinduzi only. But I'm a member of an alliance that's called the Eagles National Alliance.
Right.
Now, this brings several parties together. And in about a week or two, we will be unveiling our coalition. And so these comes with MPs, it comes with MCAs, it comes with women reps, it comes, so if someone is looking for a transformational, group to work with, it would be the Eagles National Alliance. And that is the one that will guarantee me spaces in the legislative process.
So you see a lot of the affiliates of Eagle Alliance will actually make it to Parliament.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Some already have some people in Parliament already. So the point is that it is with such progressive voices that we will be able to restore dignity to the people, the Utu that I'm talking about, that you said others are talking about, but if they were really serious about it, then they would have already, dealt with the Yala, situation, dumping of bodies in Naivasha. They would have dealt with the education crisis. They would have dealt with the poverty levels and so on. So I'm asking every Kenyan to give us a chance to rewrite, to reset, to reboot this country. We've tried so many options before and failed. Maybe this is our opportunity to be able to restore dignity to the people of Kenya.
One last question. I probably will also give you a chance to give us your closing remarks. If there was someone who was watching you tonight and they came to this particular show not decided on who or where they're going to be voting come August 9, do you believe you've convinced them to vote for you? Or what is it that would tell them if they're still in doubt to actually change their mind and say it is Reuben Kigame Tosha for August 9?
So it's very simple. Choose between liars and people who steal your resources and people who give you false promises and people who have been there and done nothing to restore your dignity. Choose between them and a fresh start based on human dignity. A presidency that puts people before profits, that puts, dignity before, development, so to speak. You want a fresh start, you've got it in Reuben Kigame. Now, if you
squeeze this in, Bwana Reuben,
all right.
It's a question.
So
someone is asking about the healthcare, the universal healthcare solution in regards to Mumias Sugar Company. He says you squeeze it into your answer. What would you be able to do there?
So, like I said, once you restore, the heshima of someone, and once you restore the haki and the hadhi of someone, all you need to do is work on the fundamentals. And the basics are, have they eaten? Number two, have they got, health services? And number three, do they have education? If we can give these to the citizens, they'll sort it themselves. Now, on the health issue, it's not proper to just allocate money and build buildings. We want to equip those particular hospitals and dispensaries and health centers so that not everybody has to come to Nairobi. And then we want as much as possible to honor doctors and nurses and health workers in general. Not only give them an opportunity, but pay them well. And also supply what they need to be able to work. You see, if you do that, the services will be available. But this is the mantra, this is the kill point for Reuben Kigame presidency. I want to concentrate on prevention.
You want to concentrate on prevention?
Rather than the treatment. The treatment is important. But if we can prevent people from getting sick, because our public health specialists have a lot of policy papers and so on to do this, we will be able to move this country forwards. Now on Mumias Sugar and so on, besides the participation of the people, so that we are not trying to solve a problem without listening to the people. We really have to stop playing games with the whole question of graft. People have looted companies. They need to be brought to book. People have, impoverished lives, so much so that the mwananchi hawezi kusomesha watoto, mwananchi hawezi kupata chakula because of a few people. So we need to appoint, correct people, maybe those who have participated in the farming industry for a while, in the sugarcane industry for a while, and who know the processes. Instead of always auctioning people to the highest bidder or lowest bidder, let us clean up this industry and bring those who have messed up the industry to book.
All right, let me read these quick ones as we go. John Onyango says, hiyo sauti imekula kitabu, alafu nasikia ya Miguna ndani kidogo. Yeah. By the way, you had said if you win presidency, Miguna will be back in the country immediately. But you haven't said anything, or unless if I missed out, on his potential return that he almost came back to the country. That's the other day.
We are playing games with Kenyans. The law needs to be followed. And, you know, when I think about what happened to Miguna, that's why I say it would be one of my first priorities. You know, you can't take a Kenyan and bundle him out of a country as if he's a criminal.
But what would stop you from doing anything right now?
But we've been pushing, we've been talking to the government, we've been tweeting that we want Miguna back. Am I, you know, the Chief Justice? I'm not. Am I, you know, the President? I'm not. Give me the powers, Miguna will be back.
Miguna will be back.
Yes.
Leilani Sheru says, as a country, we really need to elect people in regards to what they bring to the post they are vying for. Kigame sounds like a better option, but he'll need a strong team in parliament to back his agenda. I think we've touched on that. And says, amazing segment, look up TV. Brian Okech says, most aspirants are pointing out the problems with solutions that look and sound like pipe dreams. No framework on how to achieve it, and if it is actually achievable. We have a debt crisis that's over the roof. We know that already. So how do we deal with that? How will the next government that is seeks to form push its development agenda without having to borrow? Because looking at our budget.
Can I just hitchhike on that, because it's a very critical
it seems
point.
we can't survive without borrowing.
Yeah. So first of all, my key thing is stop losing money. Because if we stop losing money, we'll have enough to pump into the economy. So, for example, if we're losing 2 billion per day, we would be saving close to 500 or 700 billion. So stop the hemorrhage. And it's by appointing responsible, accountable people and putting up systems, transparent, you know, accountable systems. So that's one. But two, the best way to stop sinking into debt is to stop borrowing. You know, give a moratorium that will allow us to, you know, service whatever it is for a while and renegotiate some of those, you know, loans. And then at the same time, what we need to do is ensure that we budget within our means. So for example, 2020, 2021, we raised about 1.6 trillion. Why would we be budgeting for 3.6?
Actually, when you take over office, you'll be actually inheriting this budget.
And
so how do you actually turn things around?
So one of the things is there are projects that need to stop.
So you'd stop certain projects?
Oh yeah, because because some of them are just guzzlers. They are, you know, what they call white elephant projects.
Like which ones?
The SGR.
SGR, you'd stop it?
And do you really want me to go into this?
Go ahead. Which one else are you stopping?
There's an issue with the housing project.
We'll have to
we'll have to renegotiate that. And how, you know, and we need to actually go as far as stopping that CBC.
CBC, you'll stop
it? Yes. We need to redesign our education system because CBC is a guzzler. And actually it's dishonoring to both the parent and the child. And so there are projects I would like to be able to stop or halt if for no other reason. Because the person in Lodwar, the person in Wajir cannot eat an expressway. So that if we look at the short term, we need to solve our short-term problems and be a stronger economy so that we can now move to the middle level, middle income you know, that we project. So you can't say Kenya has grown so much by, you know, double digit, whatever figure you give to it, and yet the average person cannot even buy a mask, cannot buy food. It's a lie.
But Bwana Kigame, I'm told we need to go, need to let you go to your loved ones. But then the question that I've just asked, because if I don't ask this one here, maybe I might have failed in my duties. You seem to have ideas that almost, are the same as some of your competitors.
I don't think so.
I mean, look, in terms of going by what they say, because this is what you're telling me, because I've not seen you in your character that is implementing these things, because you still haven't gotten that chance to be able to be in office. But the Madarao aspect, the Deputy President keeps mentioning it as well in his rallies. The issue of stopping the CBC just today and just the other day as well. The team known as now Kenya Kwanza seems to be speaking the same language. Are we going to see Reuben Kigame just sticking alone and says, me, I'm going for this on my own? Or are you going to get into coalition agreements with the already existing ones and say, I can implement these things while in there, even if it's an MP position, nominated government position, whatever it is?
Eugene, let's be fair to one another.
Yeah.
You can't say that people talking about Utu and stopping Madarao and so on is happening. Therefore, the question is this: what have they done being in government? What have they actually done? For example, why aren't they addressing the dumping of bodies? Instead, they are threatening the person who is rescuing those bodies from Ribayala. Why aren't they talking about this? That's the Utu. That's the Madarao. If they really want to stop Madarao, why aren't they dealing with the hunger? Why aren't they dealing with the frivolous transfer of teachers? Why aren't they dealing with the police graduates being, their salaries being slashed? Why aren't they negotiating this reopening of the industries and the businesses that are closed? So, you see, it's one thing to just talk. My government is not about talk. We want to do values. Now, and, we bypassed again the issue of who Reuben Kigame has been. I've been a teacher. So the question should be, how has Reuben the teacher been? I've been a broadcaster. How has Reuben the broadcaster been? I've been a musician, an artist. How has he impacted the lives of other people? So that by the time C.S. Lewis says something. He says, don't blame a man for making slow progress to the east if he's going to the north. So the point I'm making is, you can't judge me by a presidential decree or solution when you've denied me the very right even to be in government.
That's powerful.
And you cannot say Kigame has not done this for the government when I've not been at the forefront of government. But what about those who have been in government for 30 years, 40 years, and they still want to do the things they told you 40 years ago they'll do and they have never done? So let's wake up from our dogmatic slumber and give true transformation a chance.
August 9th. The numbers are counted following days, and then the votes are announced, and you have not been elected president of Kenya. I mean, let's fast forward. What are your plans? You still going to continue like this? Or
you mean continue vying?
Not vying, but advocacy. The kind of passion that I hear from you. I'm going to be feeling, Kenyans, I'm done with you guys. I offered myself to save you. Sasa shauri yenu. Your mess.
I have been an advocate of these things since my student days.
So you're not stopping anytime soon.
And I have run for office before. And I've spoken on issues, values all through. In fact, my advocacy for values is not beginning with my campaign. I really believe that is where we've gone wrong as a country. And we need to fix our values. That's why I came up with that thing. We don't need BBI. We need a VBI, Value Building Initiative. And that was way before all this noise about BBI. So the point I want to make is this. We have a chance to rewrite our history. And come August 9 and we have a fair election and Kigame does not become president, it's the right of citizens to choose their leaders.
Correct.
I will have played my part, but you will never say you did not have an alternative. You will never say that there was nobody else to choose because I'm here. And I want to go public by saying I represent authentic leadership, not just an alternative. All these others are alternatives. I represent authentic leadership that puts people first. Utu wa mtu ni muhimu kwangu. Heshima ya mtu ni muhimu, haki za mtu na vile vile hadhi yake ni muhimu kwangu.
Right. Reuben Kigame, presidential aspirant, come August 9th, 2022. Thank you so much for making time to be on the Bottom Line KE for the second time.
My big pleasure, sir.
Asante sana, and wish you all the best in your endeavors. Of course, for our viewers who've been watching, asanteni sana for making time. There have been lots of comments coming through. Of course, the conversation usually ends in these four walls, but it continues across the digital platforms. You can continue engaging with Reuben Kigame. He's at Reuben Kigame on Twitter. It's a verified account. There's none like that one. So you'll be able to follow that up and engage him. Ask him any other extra questions that we might not have been able to touch on right here, and I'm sure he'll be responding right there. We're looking forward to the different announcements that are coming up as far as the politics and politics of August 9 are concerned. As always, I want to say thank you to our teams behind the scenes, Paul and the rest of the team that has been speaking in my ears throughout. I want to say thank you very much, and it's time to let all of us go and rest a bit, but keep it Look Up TV, because we still have great programming right here, solutions focused. I want to insist on that across all the 47 counties. We'll be able to see you again next Monday, same time, same place. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.
We value